All right, welcome everyone. Today is week 19 of 20. Yeah, it's been that long. So, and finally, last week for preparing for this reading, I was able to, in one sitting, read the whole chapter, not need to make notes just so I understand what I was reading or read it 20 times. I read it straight through one time, and then the second read, pull out the points and make up the questions. Only took me an hour. It took 19 weeks to do it. Actually, it took 20 weeks because we skipped 1 week in there. So that's how long it took to get from that point to this point. That was my measurement of success. I'm able to read the chapter straight now. Woo. Okay, so we are at chapter 24, The Mission of Pain. Starts at page 237. In this chapter, so Woolly Peg has been adopted, found a home. This was a time when you could just pick up a kid and adopt him. It was good times. I wish you could do it now. And then Myhanene and Aphraar are walking back and having a moment to understand what just happened and ask some questions about why was Dandy's desire so spontaneously answered, so powerfully answered by God. So that was what that chapter is about. Any thoughts on the overall chapter before we go into some questions? How did you feel? Judith?
When I first read it, I think I struggled a bit, but upon the second reading, it
Can you make it louder? You're not so loud today.
um, I was just on the second reading,
Yeah, that's better.
oh, okay. More of it sank in.
Okay.
It also helped. I mean, your prayer video that you recommended, I watched that,
Yeah.
and that was really helpful.
So what helped? What sank in for you?
Well, they talked a bit about the story in the prayer video, but it was just about, bringing myself back down to the reality of what prayer is and what it can do, how you say it correctly, how you feel it, and
Okay.
all criteria. And, so it made sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So one of the points I made, point one, page 240, Myhanene is explaining to Aphraar, every soul consecrated to the will of God becomes so sympathetic with the divine mind as to respond intuitively to its desire even before consciousness has understood the command. Full and complete consecration keeps us in constant nearness to the Father, who is so clearly reflected in ourselves that his will forms the motive power of every action. So, what does Myhanene mean by consecration? What are your ideas on what that means, and how can we consecrate our soul to God's will due to free will? Because there's this thing about us praying, "Thy will be done," but Jesus has said, "Well, you're just giving your will away to spirits, so you gotta have your own strong will." And I guess then you do this consecrating thing, and then God's will become your will. So I'm trying to understand what that means. What are your understanding of what that will means, Laura? You mute. You mute. You mute still. Found it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's some feedback happening from Michael's end, I think.
Oh. Oh, Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, you might need to mute.
Okay.
There.
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to Google what consecrated
Oh,
meant.
good. I'm glad you did. What does it mean?
Hey?
What does it mean? I should have done that.
Yeah, so it means declared to be or represent the body and blood of Christ. Or, having been made or declared sacred. So my interpretation of that is to give yourself to God. Or,
Oh, okay.
like what Jesus did when he received, when he was at one, he received the Christ. And
is it like saying I'm choosing to bring my desire into harmony with God's desire, so that is the same? I wish to be in harmony with God on these topics. Would that be one way of doing it? Because then I won't want what God wants.
Yeah. I think bringing yourself into more of an alignment with God.
Yeah.
Process.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that being at one-ment, or would be the ultimate consecration.
Right. So you're saying, well, once you're at one with God, well, yeah, now you have consecrated your whole spirit, your whole soul to God.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't really know, but that seems like what it might be.
Yeah.
Because when, in the last chapter, when there's a lot of people who have given maybe they've consecrated their will to God, and therefore they are able to hear and feel what God's will is for that. Obviously it must be a certain development of love and desire to be at a state where you're able to feel the subtlety of that desire from God.
And then jump and like all the angels that we're trying to get people to gather to that space to pick up the kid. So okay.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that's consecration of your will, isn't it? I guess.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
So what, you had another question there too.
Yes. How can we? I think the question was, how can we do this ourselves? How can we consecrate our soul to God's will due to free will? Develop our will first, and then say, "Thy will be done."
I think you brought up a really good point there, because I've seen people, giving their will to spirits. So especially in the New Age thing, spirit will say, do this, pick up this bit of rubbish, do this, and it's sort of priming them to be subservient. And to so I think there's definitely a difference there.
I was reading Tasha Silver's book. She has a beautiful book on prayers. Like her faith is amazing, and her gift is prayers, I feel. So she's got beautiful books on prayer and how to pray, and she has funny stories about how she prays and things happen, and it's amazing. But a lot of her prayers are, "Thy will be done. God, what do you want? You make it happen, or I'll do whatever you want." And it's like, I think that's not. I would correct that. So I'm trying to understand how you have to have your own will, and then bring your will into harmony with God. You can't just say, "Thy will be done" at our level of development.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I've noticed that with Christian belief as well. Like, everything's God's will. Nothing, like, it's like there's a belief that their will is dirty or it's worth nothing, even though it's one of God's gifts that He's given us. Is this will, and they sort of think, well, mine is dirty and disgusting and of the flesh, whereas God's is pure and we have to do God's will. So I feel like there's probably a lot of there's a bit of distortion there, isn't there?
And unfortunately, yes, our will currently is not in harmony, so it's a little impure, but we still can't give it away. We have to still kind of embrace it, clean it up, and then elevate it. Okay. Other thoughts? Hi, Virginia. We're talking about point 1, the consecration stuff. What does that mean? Yeah. Anyone have any thoughts?
I do.
Oh, yep. Go ahead, Michael.
It sounded like consecration was a necessary thing to have your prayers answered by God? Was that part of the idea?
Oh, oh,
I mean, in the way, see, Dandy wasn't consecrated. He was just himself. He was a kid, but
yes,
his prayer was answered.
yes. Oh, is that where Myhanene's talking about why everybody else responded to the prayer, to Dandy's desire?
I don't know.
Go ahead, Judith.
Well, as the chapter goes on, it does mention that, like, why did Dandy's prayer get answered so quickly? I don't know if that's your point, but,
Yeah.
and it was like, it's not that he was consecrated, but his prayer was in alignment with God's laws and God's desires. And when you're consecrated with God, however you pronounce it, you automatically know God's laws. So you wouldn't ask something that was inharmonious with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what consecrated.
So I guess you don't have to be at one with God. You can,
Right.
on certain topics, be in harmony.
Because it would be hopeless for us if we had to be that way, because how would we get there?
That's true. No prayers are answered.
Wrong kind of prayers, yeah. But if we say the prayer that's correct, that's in God's, laws, a prayer that God can answer, God will answer it immediately.
Yeah.
But and if you're consecrated, you know what to pray, and you would automatically, because you're kind of on the same wavelength, I guess.
Yeah. Because Danny wanted what God wanted for Bully Peg, which is for Bully Peg to have home and shelter.
Right.
And care. So
yeah.
Good questions. I like the questions. I'm happy to stay in the tension of the unanswered question. It's ripe soil. I love it.
It's hard though, because we don't know from the condition we're in how to, become one with God and to give, let God's will kind of guide us with us losing our choices.
Yeah. And you can't, well, you have to first identify your will as it is, to see where it is, to kind of identify, okay, my will right now is in this direction from all the injuries and my own desire, and then purify it, and then choose that along the way that, what God wants is pretty good, and now I want what God wants. I'm guessing that's how you go along with it, topic by topic by topic, on the issue of love and truth, until you get to the end of all those issues, and now you're at one with God, and then you have no more pain and suffering, because suffering comes from breaking laws of love and truth, but not the other laws. From, if I'm remembering, a little summary cheat sheet. Okay, so point 2, page 240. If a microbe living in the blood or tissue could form any adequate conception of what a man really is by comparison, it too might reasonably fear and tremble. And yet, where would be the need so long as the interests of the two remain identical? So this is at the point where Myhanene is trying to get Aphraar to calm his anxiety about, like, because when Aphraar was like, I can't cope with this, how do I cope with this? Myhanene say, come closer to God, not far away, closer to this overwhelming idea. And that by using the example of the microbe. So how do you feel about this metaphor, and does it make you feel closer to coming to God yourself? It's like you're a tiny thing, and then there's a God thing, and you're like, how can I get closer to this being? But Myhanene used the example of, just as the bacteria inside of you is doing quite happily, living with you, wanting the same thing you do, which is your survival, I assume, you two can get along just fine. How does it feel for you if you imagine you are the microbe in God's body? Laura?
I just had this image of like good microbes and bad ones, you know, like the good bacteria. And we want to promote the good bacteria because it promotes health. And the bad bacteria just kind of festers and, you know, so we want to align ourselves to the, the good bacteria.
That's a good point. It's like you get eliminated till you like, you know, clean up or transform. Oh my God, that's precious. Okay.
It's like synergy. I don't, that's not the right word. There's a particular word, but symbiosis, where the two survive on each other. So
yes.
one helps the other helps you.
Yes.
So that's by putting us in that perspective of us helping God, and then we're helping, you know, like it's like God's helping us, but then it's this beautiful symbiosis.
Wow.
That's kind of amazing, really.
Yeah.
And when on the assistance group where Jesus was talking about how everything exists within God because God is infinite,
right,
like it's equally mind-blowing, you know, like there was before, I don't know, I felt like there was this massive separation, and to some degree, you know, I still do. But knowing that that's not even possible to be separate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we have created a fantasy just to cope with the idea.
Yeah. So it's just kind of beautiful the way that we all help each other.
Yes. And that you don't have to just be the microbe and stay the microbe. You're good. You don't have to figure out your host. You can just have a happy existence as a microbe. You'll do your bit.
And then each and every microbe is like just as important because we all have a purpose. Like we all have a function and a purpose, and they're all different.
It is relaxing. Yeah, I've until now, like what you're referring to, Laura, when Jesus speaks of it, I just tune it out. I don't even try to imagine it. It just doesn't even land. So that's a good point. I'm beginning to feel it now going, oh yeah, if the whole universe is, well, even the universe is a known entity inside the infinite. So I'm just a microbe, just a happy little microbe. Somebody in Divine Truth needs to do a little cartoon. Put it on a wall.
Be a good one, actually.
Phoebe. Oh, okay.
Oh no, I didn't say that.
Oh, what did you
say? No, I said that'd be a good one.
That would be a good one. Yeah, some fun micro comics. We could probably find some, actually. There should be some funny ones. Other thoughts? Okay, so point 3, page 241. Direct me as you see to the best Myhanene. I can trust you, but in myself I have no confidence at all. I feel exhausted, confused, and altogether incapable of helping myself. I know all about it, Myhanene said. It is a natural strain of responsibility connected with the mission you have so happily concluded. Then page 242. For your encouragement and guidance, however, I will say that the exhaustion you feel indicates to me that the harvest of this mission will be one of which we shall all be glad. Why does the mission create exhaustion for Aphraar? And why is that like a good thing? Like Myhanene is making it sound like, yep, it was a successful project, so of course you're now exhausted. And I'm going, no, I don't understand. Why? Why is that a sign that something wonderful just happened there? Something was completed. So curious about your thoughts. Virginia?
I'm a little puzzled by it, but I thought that it was because that Aphraar had put his whole energy into it. Like he wanted this to be successful. So he put himself, he really put himself into this.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the only reason I can think where he would have felt exhausted by it.
Okay.
Because I thought if you were doing something that it was your desire, but I don't know. His desire was to help Dandy, and
Yeah.
Dandy's was to help Bully Peg. So
Yeah.
I'm not certain. That's the only thing that comes to mind as to
Yeah.
why.
Okay. Laura, and then Judith.
It says right underneath that, the first point that you raised, Myhanene said, "I know all about it." He replied encouragingly, "It is the natural strain of responsibility connected with the mission you have so happily concluded."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, to me, it makes me think, well, you know, the greatness of the responsibility perhaps is.
Oh, okay, all right. The responsibility itself.
And because he sort of felt like he played a pretty minor role in all of that. Like he was like, I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was
I just
ask for
said,
help. Yeah, and that was the whole point, was to like, and he got brownie points for that.
Yes.
Because he recognized his limits and helped the mission within his capacity. So that was kind of awesome.
Judith, your ideas?
Well, I just felt there was a huge weight there.
Oh.
It was so important, you know, so much at stake. And that I guess he even though he didn't do anything, it was like he was overwhelmed.
Yes.
And
okay, that also makes sense.
yeah, but I also wondered too, was he feeling all of his emotions? Because when we don't really feel everything, don't we get fatigued and overwhelmed?
Right. So now he is having an opportunity to process the emotion. So right. Because so much is going on, he couldn't keep up on his emotions, so that also create the exhaustion. Yeah, that's a good explanation too. Okay. The one thought I had was that because he was feeling God's emotions and love and energy, just zooming in, bursting in, and getting all of this thing happening, like maybe he felt his soul got stretched a little bit because he's now feeling all of God's energies in operation, which he's also experiencing. And so maybe that, then he now has to like recover from it, was also one idea I had. So it's probably all of it combined. Like, I guess we must do that. Like, we're in the middle of a crisis, and then we all get together and we try to survive, and we had a good outcome, and then we're like, holy smoke, what was that? And then we all do tend to have that, like, oof, boy, I need, you know, in our language we say, I need a drink, you know, like we would say something like, boy, I need to like have a nap or have a swim or something. Yeah. So, okay. I was surprised with mine in saying, well, that's an outcome of a good project. So you did well, something good happened, and therefore you're going to feel this way. Laura, did you know? Yeah.
Yeah, just there's a little bit here about the prayer, and I don't know if I'm skipping ahead again. I've just lost where we were at.
Okay.
I feel exhausted, and then
Prayer discussion is coming up.
Yeah, but it says exert a restraining power from asking what is opposed to the divine will. Okay, so it says, yes, the reason it's right there.
Okay, can you, yeah, if that's not in my listed there? I don't think it's listed in mine. So can you repeat what you
said? So direct means you see best. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so it's like it says in this case the answer to Dante's request had been so prompt and complete as to be in startling contrast to the general experience. Why is this? The reason lies altogether in the prayer, not in the arbitrary action on the part of God. Eternal law decrees that any soul enjoying consecrated union with God may ask what it will, and it shall be done. And this is because such union will exert a restraining power from asking what is opposed to the divine will.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so that is the next point. That's right. But how does that link into the exhaustion? Is that how are you linking into the exhaustion? Because I was going to go.
Yeah, I just thought restraining power. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting
okay.
perhaps the opposing force. Like, so what's inside of Aphraar was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Move on. Sorry.
I think you're onto something there. I think you're onto something. So he is feeling that he wants Dandy's situation resolved. And in that moment, his soul is consecrated with God. And so he could feel also ways in which God is probably temporarily limiting him from asking what God wouldn't give. Like there's a power. So he's feeling a force coming at him, probably. So, okay. And now that moment is over and that feeling has withdrawn. So yeah, I think like what I was feeling, like his soul got expanded because for that moment he felt this force coming into him and acting in all of the other forces as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We're kind of scratching on some Virginia.
The other thing I had written down here at the time when I read this is Aphraar was lacking confidence and faith himself.
Yes.
That this could be solved and that this could be answered. So perhaps the lack of faith, and that's where the expansion came in love and faith, that perhaps could exhaust him.
There you go. Yeah, exactly, because your soul has just got expanded beyond its comfort zone again. So now you're going to need to recover and acclimatize to the new state.
Okay.
Okay. I like it. I like when you start poking at stuff and start asking questions and staying attention, somehow then you start to receive, you start to change and you start to receive the answers. We start to get this little feelings of, guessing in the right direction. So it's really good. But Laura has read their paragraph. And the question I had about that was page 242. Example of prayers not answered. I made a list of what he said. When we pray, most people, when they're praying, are telling God so much about himself. I guess that's the kind of stuff I do. God, how could you do this and that and this and that? And I complain. Asking God to do what we are too lazy or too selfish to do ourselves. Asking for God's blessing upon some act of terror, of oppression against a weaker people. So we're asking God to oppress another group that are weak. Or that we're asking God to arise and crush the natural instinct of the starving masses and to keep the stuff that we have collected, to keep it from being taken away, from being lost. So this was the example Myhanene has given, that these prayers are not answered. So do you guys have any thoughts or examples of that? There's a lot of old English here, so it's kind of like you have to kind of double, triple think about what he's saying. Judith?
Well, I liked how the book said, like, all the wasted time of people praying, and they're doing all this prayer that doesn't do any good at all because they're not saying correctly. They're doing prayers that are not answered, as opposed to praying for something that could be answered.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And then we get mad that God isn't answering our prayer.
Right.
Okay. How about, so are we all kind of in agreement going, those prayers will not be answered? Hello. Any other thoughts about it? Judith?
Well, we ask God to fix things that we caused, like the poverty and everything that Dandy and Bully Peg were in.
Yes.
Our society causes that.
Yeah.
So we have to use our wills to make things better, not just pray to God to fix it.
Fix it, but we also got to do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So praying for effects, not causes.
Right. Yeah.
Like in the lecture, Jesus' lecture
Right.
of like, yeah, you're praying to deal with the cause, not please take away, but the effect.
Exactly.
Please take away my illness. No, please help me take away the cause of my illness. Yeah. Okay. So page 243, Dandy's prayers worked because, this is me paraphrasing, Dandy refused to give up responsibility to care for Bully Peg. He was like, that's my guardian. You should have taken him and kept me there. Now who's going to take care of him? So he didn't give up the responsibility that he just adopted. He just adopted Bully Peg and he didn't want to give it up. And then Dandy did try to find a way to bring Bully Peg help. So he tried to do what he could, which is, prayer work when you do everything you can, because in the page 242, the prayer will be a spiritual exercise employed specifically for matters touching the kingdom and not resorted to until every possible natural effort has been employed and failed. And I go, wait a minute. So that was a little bit of a confronting sentence for me, that first you put everything you got into it and it fails, and then you pray. And I go, I pray to start in the middle and the end. All of it is prayers going along, which is probably not a bad thing, having a conversation and involving God in it. But prayer works when you put everything you have into it, you fail, and then you ask. So Dandy tried to find a way to bring Bully Peg help, because he was trying to get Myhanene and Aphraar, somebody go get him food. What's going on? Somebody help him. Why can't he see me? Let me go do something for him. I'm right here. I'm right here. So he was trying to do all that. And then the whole circumstance erects a monumental demonstration of fidelity to trust and faith in an existing power of right. So what are your, so based on those definition of prayer, what do you feel a prayer is? What's your new understanding about prayer? Let's stop picking at it. We don't have to have answers. Let's stay with the struggle, Laura.
I guess we kind of touched on this last week, didn't we?
Right.
A bit, like when it's just you're giving absolutely everything that you possibly can, or you have the desire, you would, like Dandy would give up his place in heaven to help.
Yes.
Him. And God could obviously feel that was pretty sincere, and so yeah, I guess it's really don't know.
Yeah, like what would that mean if we were to do this in our lives on, say, an issue that really matters to us? Like, what would that look like? Yeah, Virginia?
I always thought that if you had a pure desire and that you prayed for that, as long as you're willing to take action.
Yes.
But I always felt that I could always ask for assistance or in some way.
Absolutely.
Just see my way clear to it, but just having a pure desire when you're asking for God's help.
Yes. And then you're taking action.
Now I'm not really sure that desires are all pure because of what we're reading. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I have to look at that and say, what could I be doing here? What actions have I taken? What am I willing to do before I ask?
And I mean, love of self is also a pure desire. When you want to do something out of love for self, to care for yourself, that's not selfish. Sometimes we do a lot of action where we don't have love of self, and because we're afraid of being seen as selfish. But my current challenge right now is my lack of love for self. That's caused some challenges that I'm now trying to repent for. So, because yeah, in my choosing addiction, I'm not having love of self. I'm sacrificing myself, and now I'm in compensation. Ugh. So yeah, it does bring up question, right? Like we have to kind of going, we have to set up some experiments here and try to really do it consciously. Have a situation and then you go, okay, I'm going to look at this formula that was given about prayer, going to have a sincere desire, or I'll figure out if my desire is sincere or not. Because, you know, even if it's not sincere, you got to kind of bring it out and try to play it out just to even discover, is it even sincere? You do have to take some kind of a safe action to have it be exposed. Because otherwise you can't feel what's really in it. Other thoughts? Judith?
Well, I think it's also important that it has to address the cause and not the effect.
Yes.
If you're just praying to address an effect, the prayer won't work.
Yes.
And I liked what you said last week and what I heard again. It's like you have to, if you won't do it yourself, how can you expect God to do it? You know?
Yeah.
You can't take that action yourself.
Yeah.
You can't expect God to take that action. So.
Yeah. But then I wonder, well, we can still pray for others who, even though like it could be a situation far away where you're going, my resources are limited, but somebody's situation is really touching my heart. And can I pray? I mean, I'd rather pray and not have it answered than not pray. Like, you know, just pray and then go, well, that didn't work, but it was worth for me to put my time. I thought it was worth my time to ask about it.
Isn't prayer for someone else just basically showing though that you love them too, that you're
that's a good point.
They're in your thoughts and you love them, even though the prayer isn't correct, you know.
That's right.
And in fact, in the video that you pointed out, I think he made a remark about anytime someone dies, they say, oh, pray for my friend who died, or pray for my friend who's sick. And Jesus says, well, why weren't you praying for them before that? Why weren't you praying for them all the time?
I love that. That's a good point.
Yeah, why don't you?
That's a good point.
We can all pray for each other, even though there's something dramatic going on.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, so I guess that does count as a prayer that can be answered. Huh. Okay. Other thoughts, Laura?
Yeah, it just reminded me of hearing about, you know, development of your will as well. Okay. So if you're sort of praying for something for yourself, sort of like what you touched on before, is you have to sort of put the effort in and the time.
Yes.
And it's a demonstration of your sincerity, really, right, of wanting to achieve the end goal. Like, say, if you want to heal a causal emotion, but you've got to get through all of this first.
Yes.
Putting in the time to educate yourself and feel about it and all of that sort of stuff. Like, it's sort of, I'm wondering whether there's, that is sort of like a measure of your sincerity to want to heal. So therefore your prayer will, because you're willing to do the thing, like do the work, that might help the prayer to come true more quickly.
So I guess it's more like saying, well, I'm going to do whatever it takes, which means, you're like, put on your parachute, which is called prayer, and then jump off the cliff going, I hope you're open. So you're willing to do the work, you're willing to take the risk, and then you jump in faith, and then prayer is the parachute going, yep, we'll open. Or the drop is only 3 feet or something. That could be the other option. We jump into stuff going, oh my God, how bad is it? You're like, that wasn't too bad. It was only an hour. I spent 40 years avoiding it and it took an hour. So, okay. So what kind of experiment Are you guys, are there some coming to mind? You're going, what kind of stuff could I say? I want to pray about this issue. I want to make a change. I'm going to do it consciously, where I'm going to take whatever effort I can and then pray about it and then see how it works out. Because then you can see it all coming together. Or make the effort, do everything I can, and then pray about it. Because I can't do it myself. Could be some fun things to try. Because that'll really grow your faith. Yeah. Huh. Okay, are we ready to move on from this one? Yeah. Okay, so point 7. Oh no, point 6. Pain and suffering. Okay, page 243. Its appointed office is to guard and protect the welfare of men and instantly to give warning of any departure from the path of health, physical, mental, or spiritual. Thus, pain, as every angel of God, speaks first to men in a still small voice of kindly intimation, for the Lord loved whom he chastened. And then it goes on to, if you will not obey the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment, then the hand of the Lord shall be against you. It is here that pain hands the sinner over to suffering. Still, so far as suffering continues to be the agent of God, its function is remedial, and although beneficent, as the Christ declared of the man who was born blind. So, what is your understanding of pain and suffering based on this statement? And how does this apply to the state of the world or to just your own personal suffering? So basically, you start with pain and then you'll be handed over to suffering. What's your understanding based on that paragraph? Karen?
Yeah, I think I've got some injuries about this, about what I feel, but yeah. I feel like it's saying that it's trying to be loving first, just trying to give you some indication that something's wrong. So you just get some amount of pain. So I feel if you're sensitive to it, it'll come at the soul level, if not at the spiritual level. And then if you're still not sensitive, you get it at the physical level. And then if you ignore that, then suffering is the result. Like you, and that as well is corrective, but I don't know, because my injury, I don't really feel it is.
That's not feel corrective.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to you?
I think I suffer an injury where I feel pain is and like suffering is punishment. So that's something I still have to work through.
So, and you know, you gotta then let yourself grieve that I feel I've been punished, just so you can get that, let you release. Right?
Yeah, it's just childhood things, just being punished, and it's resulted in pain.
Because otherwise, when you're experiencing suffering, you're angry at being punished when you feel you don't deserve it. So then that keeps being a block to allowing the suffering to be corrective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you. Judith.
Well, I agree. And also I feel like pain is something that I personally just run away from, as we all do. We're actually kind of taught to run away from pain. Take a pill if you feel bad, take medication for your anxiety. No one, you know, even when you just have conflicts with people, you just run away. They're no longer your friends. You isolate yourself. So it's a continual avoidance, and then you're just miserable and you don't know why.
Now it's too many degrees of separation to kind of backtrack and go, if you were sensitive, if we were allowed to be sensitive to pain, we would have felt it right away and we would have gone, oh, that just happened and then I got pain, here's a connection.
Right.
Good point. Yeah, that's true. But till we get to suffering, we're like, I don't know what this one was.
Yeah, and when you're raised in an environment, you know, as a child where you're not allowed to feel pain, or your parents get angry at you and you're not allowed to feel your grief or sadness over that. You just desensitize.
And also in childhood, when you're feeling pain, you're told that you deserved it and you're to blame, that it's your fault. So now there's anger created about pain.
Yeah, and the unfairness of it. It's unfair.
That's right. It feels unjust.
Yeah.
Because you're being given pain that you don't deserve as a child, which is not the direct correlation with what pain organically is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So then we also have that layer to clear. That's a good point, Judith. We actually have to heal our injury about why we avoid pain, why we've desensitized. We gotta release that and then see pain as a gift. Huh, good point. Other comments about pain and suffering, Laura?
I think it's interesting that the language used, like that it's suffering is the agent of God, so its function is remedial and good.
What are your feelings about it?
Hey? Oh, not that. Definitely not that. I'm along with you guys. Like pain equals, like being punished. Like that's my feeling. Like I deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's anger.
And I guess, if we do sin, then yeah, we kind of do deserve pain, according to God.
It's meant to be as a little beep of like, oh yeah, out of harmony. But then, well, so if you're a child, say you're a child, and you spilled water or tea or something, and that's just you learn how to balance water, and your hands are small, you're still figuring it out, and no laws have been broken here. But you get punished or laughed at or teased, or you get the projection of anger from somebody. So now you're getting pain for something that you didn't do anything wrong about. So that pain is an abuse. It's not the feedback. So now we're confusing, going, wait, that was pain, but that was somebody else's action on me. I didn't do anything wrong. So now when I feel pain, which is a corrective one, then we're thinking we're getting the other one. So then you don't even know, how do you even work through pain? It's all mixed up in there. So yeah, we gotta purify.
That's sorry, you go.
No, yeah, you're right. That's not a punishment. What I'm trying to teach my hood self is that, well, no, people wanted an excuse to abuse me, so they use blame as a justification. Nothing to do with anything. So that's the correction I'm trying to teach the child. Because for the longest point, my resistance in my feisty, fierce little kid is that I don't deserve the pain. So I'm not going to be willing to feel it. And it took me a while to go, actually, you're kind of right. The pain you're resisting, you're right that you don't deserve it. Okay, go along with the resistance and honor what you were trying to say. So then I can educate the child. Well, that was abuse. Pain is something else. Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking also the self-punishment, because obviously with that belief that we do deserve it, then we try to avoid the projection by doing it to ourselves, like just being really hard on ourselves, and like God's trying to show us that we need to stop doing that, to kind of love ourselves, like you said before, learn to love ourselves a little bit more.
So I think that is a healthy pain to feel, when we're punishing ourselves and then we feel pain and then we go, oh, that is a good feedback, going, just do something terrible to yourself. That is a good feedback. Virginia.
I always felt that it was unjust, and I didn't really realize that.
Okay.
Because I always saw that, I felt like not everybody was being treated equally in having pain. And I seen people that were doing some pretty horrible things, and they seem to be like the picture of health, and they're all good. So right. I was like, what's going on here? Like, this
Fair
is,
enough.
what's going on here?
Okay. Okay. Stay with the question.
And there's some self-punishment there, like some injuries on that, and thinking that, you know, like, why can't I figure this out? And why does it take me so long? You know, that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
But feeling that, you know, that it wasn't being distributed equally. Does not everybody get this?
Yes.
You know, when they're doing things that are out of harmony with love.
Yeah, well, it is equal and fair, but for some of us, I guess we stop sinning later and then the law of compensation kicks in. Maybe that's what that is. For some of us, it kicks in quicker, or that we are actually desiring to, because I feel like physical pain and illnesses comes up sooner and stronger because you have a stronger desire to deal with stuff. So it comes as a law of attraction to help you target that area you need to focus on. Could also be that. I don't know. That's my area of passion. So
it's an answer to my prayers of wanting to learn and get to,
but okay, you're having a strong emotion right now.
To what I was asking for then.
You have a strong emotion right now that every time I get any kind of pain or sickness, I've been bad. I'm being punished. So you're gonna have to release that layer. I see sickness or pain as a opportunity. God saying, this one, go in this particular one right here. I was having a very severe neck pain just up here earlier. And so I literally went into the posture to feel what my neck was doing. And I started to feel like I could feel my guide saying, just get into the pain. Because I was asking, what's the cause of this? What's going on? I went into it and some soft, gentle grief came up. With a memory, and for the first time ever, I cried, I want to die. Please, can I die? And I'm going, oh, there's that pain. Like it took 2 minutes to feel into the physical pain and drop into that beautiful causal that I couldn't find forever. It was just beautiful to feel that grief of, I would like to just die. Please let me die. Like, oh. So to me, it's like profoundly helpful to feel pain in your own body when you sink into it. Yeah, but you're gonna have to work through the layer of, I feel I'm being punished because I have some kind of pain or soreness or injury. Yeah. Laura?
Yeah, something just popped into my head then, because Virginia and Judith, were you both, did you both have a Catholic upbringing? Yeah, I feel like there's a commonality between this self-abuse thing and that, because I've got the same thing, and I'm just like, ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
They sort of teach you, don't they, that you're bad, that these things are sinful and that you deserve punishment. Like, so I've noticed the same thing that you were just saying, Virginia. You know, doing the exact same thing as another person. Like, so for me, there was one time where I was sort of influenced by this person to steal something, and she used to do it, and I felt like I've been eternally punished for that, whereas she's just like no issues with finance whatsoever. So I was like, you know, I just feel like there's something in the way that we punish ourselves, or that we've been taught to, that's similar. I don't know.
Good point. I didn't catch that. Judith?
Well, I just kind of think like with the divine truth perspective, like with me personally, it's like when something bad happens, I get mad at myself because it's like, well, I should have known more. I'm not doing the work.
Wow.
And, you know, it's like, well, this wouldn't happen to a person who was more, you know, in touch with God. Wow. Instead of learning from it, you know, I just become really judgmental.
Well, for me, it's like the stuff is so numbed out. How are you going to find it? I need something to happen to me to point to the road. Like, so physical illness is very helpful, especially because it tells you exactly which one to go for. But then I'm remembering now, I did used to feel, if I'm feeling pain, I'm being punished and I will not go there. So I did release the layer you guys are talking about because I don't have that perspective anymore. That layer can be released and then you're free to have a different perspective.
What layer is that?
If I'm feeling pain, I'm being punished, and it's not fair. And I'm angry. I'm reacting angrily to any kind of physical pain, health issues. Yeah. So now I see it as a gift. Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say it's also life circumstances too, not just like,
no, I know,
getting in a car accident or, losing a job.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the same feeling. God's punishing me. See, same language. May just as well feel, God, I feel you're punishing me. Just get that layer out. And then you start to feel, no, this is just a correction, just to trigger the emotion that you did not create, you wasn't your fault, but it has to be triggered. Boy, that took so many years of negotiating with this little one to kind of get me and my hurt self on the same page. It does leave, and then you're free to have a different perspective, and it's really nice. You can just get on with it. Yeah, this little one is a lawyer. Everything is hashed out to minutiae. It's like, and I'm beginning to admire her. It's like self-love, like, oh my God, you're so cute. Okay, so the next point, point number 7, page 244. He that believe in me, the works that I do shall he do also. As you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely you have received, freely give. So I think this is the part where they're talking about how you can help release suffering in others when you get to a certain soul condition. So we are to help release suffering, but it has to be the suffering that I guess people didn't deserve to have versus the suffering that, you've earned by your own actions. So we can help heal suffering in the world, that your very presence expel that kind of suffering. So God has given us the ability to heal and end legitimate suffering in others as we progress. So I'm just going, is it that you have to be at one with God in order to get here? Or is it something you can, as you progress and develop certain abilities? Like what are you feeling about that statement? Nora?
I just remember Jesus talking about faith healing, and that was what he used even when he was at one with God. His faith is so strong. He knew that God was had the ability to heal the person. So
right, like that chorale, the magnetic chorale is in the first book. It's kind of like the same thing, isn't it? That was faith healing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But that's after enlightenment.
Well, but maybe if it's just about the development of the faith, that.
Ooh, I like that.
So it could just be on that particular topic.
Yeah.
Have a strong enough faith that God is the healer and God has the ability to help the people.
Yes. And
but
that you are able to feel what God would want in that situation. So you're kind of consecrated on that topic.
But then, Jesus at the moment isn't like going around healing people with hands-on sort of thing. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is an alignment thing. I do.
I like what you say. It's about the development of faith. If you have faith in that topic and in that one topic, you're already, because enlightenment is you gradually issue by issue, topic by topic, kind of becoming in harmony with God on different topics. You don't just suddenly get at one on all topics. Something happens gradually. So maybe as you develop in your faith and in that topic, you're wanting what God wants. Like, for example, if you want to do healing on somebody, but they don't want to feel the causal emotion, you're kind of going, well, I can't do anything here. I can feel God's feelings of like, well, you haven't shifted, so I can't do anything for you. Maybe that is possible as we go. Karen.
Yeah, I feel there's a few things to it. I feel like, yeah, like what Laura's saying, faith is a really important aspect of it. It's similar. Remember, Michael, that what he sent through to us about a month or two ago from the channeling part, and that was based on that faith, that the like spirits who weren't in an at-one-ment condition could heal if the person had faith. Like, so either there could be somebody on earth that would channel those spirits, could channel the energy through, but the person receiving it had to have some degree of faith. And if their faith was strong enough, they didn't need the healer as the intermediary. The spirits could just heal directly. But I feel like this at-one-ment condition is necessary to have the types of healing that Jesus did in the first century, to have this instant, because I feel like it's, I thought I've heard him mention that it's literally God, it's not actually him doing the healing, it's God coming through and doing the, and because everything is in harmony with God, then in a one-ment condition, it can happen instantly as long as the person is in a condition to receive it.
Where you can, so we could, so the intermediaries like us, we can be the one that helps somebody's condition improve temporarily. We could have faith to be the transmitter. We could allow ourselves to be cloaked by a celestial spirit to provide the healing. Like, so there are things we can do in the intermediate state.
Yeah, and if you look at, there's a lot of natural love spirits going around healing people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen at the soul level, like they're just healing the physical body and maybe the spiritual body a bit, but they're not, the injury is still there.
And therefore you can probably give them energy, but then it's going to come back.
At some point, you would assume so, yeah. Whether it's like in 10 years or 100 years or at some point, it's going to
come back. There's always that 7-year thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Judith?
I was going to say that the natural spirits heal the effects, but they don't heal the cause.
No.
So that's why the effect will always come back. It's not a true healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was in your tape too, unless it's a different tape I watched. Your tape on prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, God, that is the best. Out of all the thousands of hours of lectures, that the introduction to prayer, whew, and I can't watch it. I have to read it because it's too much. I tried watching it once and I was like, no, I got to read it because there's so many things I want to stop and kind of elaborate, and a big topic. Okay, Virginia, were you raising your hand?
When you're talking about healing that way, it kind of confuses me because we have so many people on earth that have the ability to channel healing.
Yes.
But if God can do it, and the person that needs the healing, once they desire it, then why would God need us to channel the healing? I don't understand.
Well, that is the ultimate. That is the best. If the person who's needing healing can lift their soul condition temporarily to that state where they can receive it and have a lot of faith, then that is the ultimate. But we're not all in that condition, and God is still going to try to reach out to his sick children somehow. So the intermediaries, I mean, I don't mind because I get to practice. I like it. I want the opportunity to practice.
I do too, but I'm just questioning it. But I suppose that perhaps we're healing other parts of the person that will help them to get to that causal and really heal. Perhaps we're giving them that little boost so that those little steps that you need to take to get there. I need to have faith in some way that I'm assisting and that it is worthwhile assistance to try to.
Yeah, I'm just honest. I'm just selfishly honest. I'm like, I love it. It's my gift. My gift is a healing, and I want to learn. So when stuff is going on and I have a patient on the bed, I'd be like, so what are you guys doing? I want to see, show me what's going on. Like, I want to learn. I want to be a fly on the wall and watch and feel what the healers are doing, because it is my passion. I want to learn. And so I want to help. You're like a little TA going, can I help? Can I help? Can I help? And of course, God wants you to progress as well. And at some point when I'm at one with God, I'm assuming healing is going to be my gift. So I got to learn every day. Yeah. So that's you can engage your will, your desire that way to want to learn. Look at Laura. She's like right there going, I know. Laura has a similar passion, right? Go ahead, Laura.
What was coming up for me when you were saying that was truth. And this is, I guess, the way that Jesus works now, and Mary, is this element of truth that can penetrate us to invoke healing. And that's, I guess, one way that we can help people now.
Yes.
Is becoming more in harmony with truth, and then we are able to see and feel the truth of, you know, perhaps causals in other people as well.
Right. Because a lot of our suffering is due to our denial.
Yeah, absolutely. And when when you've been told the truth, it just cuts, you know, like it goes straight for the grief. Grief just comes straight out. So that's a gift that we can offer. Yeah.
Good point. I like that. Huh. Okay. Okay. So where we're at? Other last thoughts about the topic? We good? Okay. So I'll stop the recording.